Does it embarrass you? And I know it must because it embarrasses me. This is not a loaded question. That the federal government continues, as we have for a while, to send money to dead people. And they cash the checks.
You and I have talked about this a couple of years ago, and of course, we should not. That should not be happening.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a heated exchange between Senator John Kennedy and the OMB director. It's all about the government sending out billions in checks to dead people. Yeah, you heard that right. We've got a lot to unpack, so stay tuned because it gets wild. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a breakdown of the latest political drama. Alright, let's jump into it. First off, Kennedy kicks things off by pointing out something crazy. During the stimulus period, the government sent out billions in checks to dead people. And guess what? Those checks were cashed. Yep, fraud at its finest. And the madness doesn't stop there, it's happening every year. I don't know about you, but that's pretty embarrassing, right? Kennedy's not just complaining though, he's actually worked on legislation to stop this. He helped pass a bill that forces Social Security to share data with the Treasury Department. Seems like common sense, right? But here's the kicker. It's only in place for 3 years. Kennedy's pushing to make that permanent. Honestly, I can't believe we even need a law for this. Now get this, the Treasury and Social Security actually had to set up a Memorandum of Understanding, or MOU, to share this data. You'd think it'd be easy for government agencies to work together, but nope. Kennedy's shocked by how much red tape there is. We're talking about stopping checks to dead people, and it's still a bureaucratic nightmare. Crazy, right? Kennedy then shifts gears to another major fraud issue: transnational crime syndicates taking advantage of the system during the pandemic. These are organized criminals stealing from the US, and Kennedy's pushing for better fraud prevention in the budget. He's saying, let's make sure the Inspector General's IGs have what they need to crack down on these criminals. This is like next-level fraud we're talking about.
Does it embarrass you? And I know it must because it embarrasses me. This is not a loaded question. That the federal government continues, as we have for a while, to send money to dead people. And they cash the checks.
You and I have talked about this a couple of years ago, and of course, we should not. That should not be happening.
Well, here's what I'm hoping that the administration will take a look at. During the stimulus period, when we were trying to keep our society on its feet, we sent out checks to we sent out $1.4 billion worth of checks to dead people. And they were cashed, obviously fraud. And as best I can tell, we don't know for sure, but we send out between $1 and $2 billion of checks a year, continuously, to dead people. And they're cashed, obviously fraud. We passed a bill that said Social Security, which gets the information about who's alive and who's dead from the states, has got to talk to the Department of Treasury to make sure that its do not pay list includes people who are dead. It was a shame we had to pass a bill to implement common sense, but nonetheless we did it. But in order to get the bill passed, I had to make some compromises. I can't imagine anybody would be against it. We're going to start doing that on December 23rd of this year, but it's only for 3 years. And the Government Accounting Office says we ought to make it permanent. And I'm going to try to make it permanent. And I really wish, I'm not going to ask you today because I know you have to talk to the president, but if you could talk to the president and try to get a commitment to let's pass.
I will. One of the things that was shocking to me is Treasury in the last administration and this list from Social Security had to develop a MOU to even share this database, and you would think it would be easy to do that. So I support you. I'd also ask you to work with us. We have a fraud proposal in the budget that makes sure IGs have what they need, make sure we go after fraud in the UI system, where we saw transnational crime syndicates, frankly, take advantage of the system. So I'd love to work with you on that as well.
Yeah. Another area I'm hoping the administration will look at, we're spending a lot of money to send pharmaceutical drugs to certain hospitals at really, really low prices. The idea being, of course, that those hospitals will pass that savings on to people who are less fortunate economically than you and me. Mm-hmm. There's just one problem. There's no requirement that the hospitals do that. And some of those hospitals, I think it's called the 340B program. Some of those hospitals are going, thank you very much, federal government, for giving me these cheap drugs, and they're turning around because dollars are fungible and basically selling those drugs for a profit to paying patients. And we're spending billions on this. It makes no sense, Madam Secretary. I really wish y'all would take a look at that.
Happy to. We just had a long discussion about healthcare costs, and I'm happy to work with you in your office on this and bring in HHS and CMS to the conversation.
Okay. My last question, I noticed, I listened to one of the president's press conferences, and he said, you know, nobody, no middle income people are going to have to pay any of this $4.7 trillion worth of new taxes. Is that really accurate? I mean, isn't the administration proposing in its budget to roll back some of the provisions, many of the provisions of the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act?
No, sir.
So you're not arguing that we should roll them back?
We are very clearly in the budget state that the president would support extending those tax cuts for those making under $400,000. Now, he does believe we should pay for those.
But he's proposing to roll back tax cuts for people who are making less than $400,000, isn't he?
No, sir.
I think
he's saying the Trump tax cuts, as we call them, expire in 2025. So the 24 budget does not.
Some of them expire sooner.
Some of them expire sooner, like the R&D tax credit. And I know there are various proposals in the Senate to extend those. But on individual taxes, the president in black and white says he would support extending those. He would not support raising taxes on anyone under $400,000, but he thinks those over $400,000, ensuring that those are rolled back to pay for lower income, those under $400,000 should be on the table, so we can do that in a fiscally responsible way.
I agree that's what he said. I just don't think that's what his budget does.
So there you have it, guys. Senator Kennedy grilling the OMB director over fraud, government inefficiencies, and taxes. It's clear he's pushing for common sense changes, but as we all know, politics is never that simple. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you think Kennedy's on the right track, or is there more to the story? Make sure you hit that like button if you found this breakdown helpful, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into politics and government news. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.